One man who knows all about being in battles at both sides of the tables and being successful actually in both is 2016 Premier League champion Danny Simpson. Good morning to you, Danny.
Good morning, Danny.
Good morning, Danny. Good morning, everyone. You okay?
Yeah, good.
We're doing well, mate. We're doing well. No, I'm guessing, Danny, you will be as surprised as the rest of us at the current situation Leicester are finding themselves in.
Yeah, I'm surprised in terms of if you still look at the players that are on show and on the pitch. These are the players that have got into Europe and nearly got into the Champions League, won an FA Cup. But obviously, as we all know, and from the start of pre-season, there has been things going on off the pitch, and when you do lose your best players, and when I say best players, I'm not just talking on the pitch, I'm off the pitch. Kasper Schmeichel, for example, he's been there for 11 years, I think he was there, and the influence off the pitch as well as on it, because let's be honest, I think he's been Leicester's best player over the last couple of years, making save after save, but just his influence in the dressing room. And sometimes when you lose that, and you lose other players that I know they've lost over the years, and even like a Fuchs or a Wes Morgan, that alone can hurt as well.
Danny, I take that point, and I think maybe people underestimated the influence that somebody like Kasper Schmeichel had on and off the pitch. However, do you agree with this? I've been saying for a couple of weeks, Woods and I have been talking about it, particularly in the breakfast show, and I'm looking and I'm listening to Brendan, and he does not seem to be the same man in terms of his upbeat enthusiasm about the game, about his team. And listen, I'm no body language expert, but he looks kind of, I wouldn't say shot to pieces, but his enthusiasm certainly looks as though it's gone.
Yeah, I take that point on board. I think I've worked with Brendan, so I can see that a little bit. But he's got to try and get himself out of that, because he's the one he's got to get the lads out of that. We all know, you just need one win. If we I'm looking at Leicester's situation, I'm looking at Man United after the Brentford game. They was rock bottom, and I think Ten Hag, that week he changed his philosophy, he's got his team, he got them defending as a team. And sometimes you just need them 1-0 wins. And 1-0 wins, obviously, with first game Liverpool, but then 1-0 away at Southampton, 1-0 at Leicester. I was at the game. And sometimes you just need that one win, however it is, just to get the lads going again. And I think that's what he's probably got to go back to.
Have you spoken to any of the team, any of the Leicester players at all?
I spoke to them after the United game, because I was there. And they were all saying the same thing. It's just not happening at the moment. But they was confident going to Brighton that they were going to get something now. I haven't spoken to them since that game. But you look at the next game, Aston Villa at home, it's got to be, it's a must win. And I think that'll take them a level points with Aston Villa. It's a little of a Midlands game as well. So I think that game is the one where it's all to play for. And I think we all know that.
I think sometimes, Dan, as well, I mean, I've just had a look at their fixtures, who they've played already, and sometimes how the fixtures are dealt out early season. I'm just looking, in the 6 games they've played, if you look at the big 6 in the league, they've played Chelsea, they've played Arsenal, they've played Man United, and a very informed Brighton team. This game against Villa's massive, because after that they go to Tottenham. So in the first 8 games, you've played 4 of the so-called big 6 in this country, and that's not an easy start for any team.
No, is it? And then there's an international break, I believe, where, as you know, that's when you can get some real work in and have a bit of team bonding, etc. You look at the 3 games after that. You look at Forest, Bournemouth, and Palace. Now, like you just said there, Pacey, that's tough for anybody. Yes, you expect Leicester to maybe nick a result there, and for this season it hasn't happened. But I just think we can get a little bit too hasty. And if you look at the next 4 or 5, especially after the break, no disrespect to them teams, but that's where you expect, where Leicester can go and, get 3 wins on the bounce, and then things change all of a sudden after a couple of weeks.
Danny, tell me, is there a different pressure? I know there's pressure on coaches, managers, and certainly players to win games. Is there a different pressure down the bottom than there are, for example, in 2016 when you're chasing? Is there a kind of, dare I say it, an enjoyable pressure up the top, but more of a fear at the bottom?
No, it's definitely fair at the bottom. That's the great escape we did. That whole season was tough, and that was at a point where there was no expectations, and there was still fear. So now for them players, the fact that they have performed so well over the last few years and they're at the bottom, I'd say there's even more fear than what, I felt back then in the team in 2015. So, yeah, compare that to being at the top. That's exciting. That's enjoyable. That's where you want to be. That's where we didn't expect to be. And it's fun. Whereas I think this is where you see who the real leaders are, not just on the pitch but off it. Obviously, I'm not in the dressing room, but I think this is where Brendan will see it and teammates will see who really can perform. Because if you can perform down there in them tough situations, then you can perform at the top.
Danny, how difficult is it as well when you've got a player like, when you focus on Wesley Fofana, who is obviously a brilliant player and has come through at Leicester and become the player that he is now, who quite visually and verbally wanted to leave the club. So you've got him sitting out and you've got quite a clear division between the club that he's at and wanting to get away. Can that be disruptive for the players?
Yes, and I remember a situation where it was Riyadh. Riyadh was going to wanted to go to Man City. I think a bid came in, and unfortunately at that time it wasn't right for the club, and he missed a couple of games. Now, we weren't too pleased, and we kind of let him know that, but then ultimately the window closed. We had a team meeting, because that's, a lot of times then the team meetings were led by players, and we got him in. We didn't want to make him feel like a type of way. And we said, listen, if you want to go Man City now, it's not happening. Get back playing your best and you'll be there in the summer. Now, and that's how we dealt with that situation. Obviously, in this case, Wesley Fofana has gone. But yeah, it's definitely a distraction while it's going on. And, like your teammates with the 23s, etc. But listen, it's happened now and they have to get on with it.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods. Monday to Wednesday mornings 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.